Consistently throughout the calendar year, we get the chance to debut sim racing leagues not just on Pit Stop TV, but also on iRacing.com as a whole. Today, the North American Racing League begins their first season tonight from the legendary Hockenheimring in Baden-Württemberg, Germany, and you'll see it all live here on Pit Stop TV. JP Costa, Emerson Arden, welcome back to the broadcast booth for some GT3 action. Glad to be here with you guys, along with our colleague Trey Shuttlesworth on our social media coverage for the season debut of the North American Racing League. It's going to be a fun one.
Thanks for having me, Andrew, and words cannot describe how excited I am to be part of this season opener. GT3s are one of my favorite cars to watch and race, and being able to commentate on such a stacked and talented grid is just amazing. I cannot wait to get qualifying and the race going because I'm pretty sure these guys are going to put on a show here tonight.
They absolutely will. Thanks for joining us on our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter platforms. Once again, happy to be here joining you for our first points-paying presentation of the NARL. Hockenheimring has been said by some to be a shell of its former self. Now, while present-day let's back up. While present-day Hockenheimring certainly is not what it used to be, Emerson, I wouldn't say it's a shell of its former self by any means. I think if we were to present this track map to you, or anybody for that matter, in its current form, and not tell you that it was Hockenheimring, you'd look at it and say, yeah, that looks pretty good. There's a lot to offer. There's a lot of variety throughout the course. And I think that makes Hockenheimring one of today's premier circuits across the globe. There's a lot to offer. Turn 1, Nord Curve, and up to Turn 2 is a very difficult, tricky, kind of technical section, very fast, into that almost hairpin-like 2, 3, 4, and into Parabolica for Turn 5. The hairpin, of course, slows everybody down, and then it's a technical back end of the course as well. It flows very nicely. It's very fast, very technical.
Yeah, absolutely. When it came to the iRacing service, there was a lot of positivity around it. I think there was, it was actually supposed to come a couple seasons earlier on the iRacing platform, and we finally got it in 2021, and there's been a lot of buzz around it. I've been so ecstatic to drive it around here in so many different vehicles, and I'm so glad that we get to see GT3 racing on it once again here on Pit Stop TV. And then when you look at it, like you said, it flows very well. There's a lot of passing opportunities. Turn 1 very treacherous, but if you can survive Turn 1 right on the rear end of somebody, you can try to send it up the inside to Turn 2. If it doesn't work, regroup, try it again in the hairpin of 6. And then we've seen a lot of great side-by-side racing through 7, 8, and 9 in the Mercedes area. And then you get that nice little short shoot to Turn 11, the Mobile 1 corner there, and that's another prime passing opportunity before you kind of set yourself up for the back end of the lap here through Sachs. And then 13 and 14, the car is really off balance there. Right after 14, you get to a braking zone for Turn 15, so you're working the wheel, the pedals a lot through 12, 13, 14, and 15. That takes a lot of focus and a lot of mental focus to make it through that section in one piece. And then of course Turn 16 leads you back up to the front straightaway to do it once again at this very fun circuit.
And what helps, but also hurts drivers, I think, in that back-end section from Mobile 1 through Sud Curve, which is South Curve, on that front stretch. Going through Sachs, there's a little bit of banking there in Turn 12. 13, 14, there's a little bit of cambered and then off camber, it feels like, and it kind of messes the car up. It changes the balance of the car through those couple of corners, and it doesn't look like it should be any more than a bit of a left-right flick, but it ends up being a challenging little part of the racetrack, especially if you end up in a final lap battle, be it for the race win or otherwise. We've mentioned this is a brand new series coming to Pit Stop TV. Now, we've had the Streamers Championship. That was a few weeks ago. We had Eric Brennan on the call for that one at Road Atlanta, but this is the first points-paying race of the season. This is the season schedule before us now, JP. We were talking about a pre-race just between ourselves. Hockenheimring, Road Atlanta, Interlagos, 3 amazing circuits to start things out. Nürburgring GP certainly cannot be slept on either. Mosport, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in slot number 5 sounds fun. Suzuka Red Bull Ring for races 6 and 7 to set up the championship at Donington Park, of all places. This is going to be a wild one.
Yeah, exactly. Only perfect tracks in my opinion. I love each and every single one of these tracks. These tracks are going to suit GT3s a lot. And you think about it, it's pretty much a world tour. You start off in Germany, you go to the United States, and then you go back to Brazil, into Germany again, Canada, Japan, Austria, and then back to England. It's just a world tour of GT3 cars, and I'm pretty sure some of these guys are probably going to be racing at home at one point in their home countries. And well, that just brings out the best in drivers, and these cars are going to suit these tracks just perfectly.
You see, this schedule will span mostly throughout August, but also the back end here of July and the front end, if you will, of September. The back 2 weeks of July, all of August, the first 2 weeks of September. I mean, this is a fantastic little summer series that we've built up. Kind of will lead us into fall here, Emerson. There's a lot to look forward to in this schedule, but if you had to pinpoint just one track that you have on your radar, what would it be?
Well, I think, biasly, the Donington Park, the season finale. I mean, it's a tight little track. We've had it on the channel before with 42 GT3 cars. It was absolute mayhem. And Donington Park, again, it's just a traditional English circuit. Has a lot of very tight corners and not really a lot of room for error. There's obviously grass all over the circuit, but really no runoff, and it can really create some tense situations. And if you're in a championship battle there, Donington Park, I think that's a great ring for it.
Absolutely. So 8 races strong. It'll be a little bit quick, but it'll certainly span the summer stretch before we get into the fall here in 2021. Incredible to believe that we're already into the back end of July. It's already July 22nd. August is on the way. So certainly this year has gone by in a flash. The other thing going by in a flash is our practice session. Harry Wills currently leads the charge in the pro category. You'll notice there are 2 different colors of number boxes on your ticker on the left side of your screen. The thought behind that is, well, simply you can tell which is which between pro driver and amateur driver. All of the pro drivers are donned in blue with white numbers. All of the amateur drivers yellow with black numbers. So if you're wondering where your favorite driver fits into all of that, well, it's very easy to tell just by looking at the ticker. So that is fantastic. The fact that we were able to get that coordinated with an ARL has me over the moon personally. We're taking a look at the Twisted Motorsports driver of Harry Wills as he works through this would be, I want to say, turn 10 and heading down to the back end of the circuit here, JP. I don't really know what to expect out of these cars here. I don't know which car is going to be the best, and honestly, I think that we could see 2 cars, potentially, of the various that these drivers have to work with stand out, I think, today. We're watching the Lamborghini here of Harry Wills in the 295. I noticed there's a driver behind him, I think, in a Lamborghini as well. That's his teammate. It looks like, if we can find him, not his teammate, actually. Sean Patterson, just in a similar livery. I like that chrome on the side along with the metallic red. You see him Merc behind him. And I know the Mercedes has really stood out lately as one of the premier vehicles in the GT3 category in iRacing. If you had to pinpoint a car to be the standout here at Hockenheimring, which one are you expecting to stand out?
Well, that's a very tricky question because right now the BOP seems to be pretty much nailed down in some of the GT3s. We kind of see a few cars just popping around in the top 10, mostly Germans, but you know, sometimes you can't go wrong with the Mercedes. I'm personally going to put my bet on the BMW. Not a lot of them, but you know, I'm pretty sure it should be a car that should suit this circuit. Obviously, it's front engine, and that's probably going to have a bit of the balance. We all know that it's pretty strong in a straight line. And well, Stu Leslie right here in the 183, well, he's running the BMW. I feel like this could be a good car, but as I mentioned, the BOP just seems kind of balanced, and we could see any car essentially topping up, not practice, qualifying, and also the race.
Taking a look through some of the other practice times, we see Aldo Secklin currently in the 8th position in his Lamborghini. I'm noticing certainly a lot of Lamborghinis up high on the listing for now, but this is only Hockenheimring. Changing things up next week at Road Atlanta. Who knows what car is going to be on top? I would imagine potentially the Porsche. That seems like just a car that would fit well at Road Atlanta. Micah Barnett is currently in the 9th position for Scuderia Chicken House is the team name on that machine. It's an interesting one. You can see the clear reason as to why Chicken House is the team name. Look at that on the side, Emerson. If that doesn't take the cake for most unique team name in this series, I'm not sure what will.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that these drivers can just get together, have a little bit of fun in these GT3 cars. I'm glad that we can have fun with GT3 cars again. Also, I've been longing for some sports cars back on the channel as well. Chicken. It's definitely going to be something you can easily point out on broadcast when it comes in the frame here. But Barnett here running 9th there. The top 9 not broken up by an amateur driver. looking like he can keep strung along here with 4/10 off the top of the charts. He might have a little bit something later when we get into qualifying and race. Of course, it's 50 minutes. It's not I guess a short race. 50 minutes can do a little bit of work in that.
Certainly, I think 50 minutes gives you plenty of time as a driver to make mistakes, but also make up ground on others who make mistakes. We're now watching the 109 of Chad Klinger, who checks in as an amateur driver, but also within that top 10 in practice. You kind of started to mention it here, Emerson, where the top 9 are not broken up. They're all pro drivers, but then 10th place, we do see an amateur driver in Chad Klinger. This is pretty impressive to me, being in that amateur category, but clearly having some pace this afternoon at the Hockenheimring here in Germany. Pretty cool to see the 109 up there. In addition to having blue and yellow number plates, you will also notice that all of the pros are listed as 295 or 225, whatever. They're in the 200s, and then the amateurs are in the 100s. So that's the other way that you watching at home can tell which driver is in which category. So Chad Klinger in the 109 is an amateur driver. That said, we're going to step away for just a moment. We're going to take our quick pre-race break before we get into qualifying coverage here from the Hockenheimring in Baden-Württemberg, Germany. Stick with us here at Pit Stop TV. There's a whole lot to look forward to this afternoon. Sports car is back on the channel for the first time in, well, quite a while, and they're at one of the most fantastic circuits, I would say, on the iRacing.com service. It's Hockenheimring here on Pit Stop TV for the North American Racing League. Stick with us, qualifying right after this.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of two products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
Welcome back to the virtual Hockenheimring. Boy, what a pleasure this one is going to be. As aforementioned, this is the first race for the North American Racing League being brought to you live this evening and all season long on Pit Stop TV. Do want to quickly touch on some of the partners here with this brand new league, NARL, North American Racing League, rather. We do want to talk first about Race Lab. Now, actually, I do want to quickly highlight, we've had TAM Livery on the channel before with the Pacific Challenge GT3 series, but Race Lab and JS Consulting are brand new to us here. Race Lab helps you improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race stats, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. That is racelab.app. TAM Liveries offers custom packages for some of the best livery designs on iRacing. Used by pros and amateurs alike, you will definitely look good on track, and there are several, and I mean several, TAM livery vehicles in the field this evening. And JS Consulting provides custom website and app development, including iRacing League website design and hosting. Find JS Consulting at johnsedlak.com. We might even have to look into JS Consulting here for Pit Stop TV here in the very near future. Qualifying getting underway from Hockenheimring. Well, no drivers have taken the time just yet. We're watching Jack Niederbach currently for FTR Esports work his way around. It looks like turn number 10, head down to 11, and eventually Sachs, that corner that I was talking about earlier, being a little bit cambered here, JP. This is one you've got to watch out for. It can either set the car up for success or set you up for a quick spin.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure everybody that thinks about a mistake on that corner remembers Sebastian Vettel in 2018. Such a disaster, but these guys, I'm pretty sure everybody kind of has it nailed down. Obviously, the sky is very clear, but as you can see, just lining yourself up for the start-finish straight. Even though it's a small run down into turn 1, it's important to get a perfect exit out of turn 17. Klinger goes fast as a 138. Now, always, just as I mentioned that he gets beaten, and unfortunately Niederbach also loses it on turn 1, so already getting the glimpse of how difficult that corner can be. Even in qualifying, just a small mistake can get your car into the barrier as you don't have any runoff. So drivers already facing challenges even in the beginning of the qualifying session. So, well, eyes open to see what these guys can do for the remaining 6 minutes.
We now take a look at Scott Kimbrough here. Emerson in the 211 just went fastest that first lap out, and it is in a Mercedes. Rather native, I would say, to Hockenheimring, certainly. This Merc is putting down some serious power, and it's long been considered the fastest car in a straight line in the iRacing.com GT3 category. That's not exactly the same anymore, though. BOPs rather have changed things up a little bit, and the Ferrari has lately been a bit faster, and now with the addition of the Lamborghini and the BMW, the Mercedes has actually fallen off in recent years, but a big-time resurgence as of late. It seems like it might be back to its former glory.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, Kimbrough has a near 2/10 advantage over Matthew Dench as we continue on to qualifying session. Just it looks very planted in these corners. And we're looking at, I believe that's an Audi working its way through turn number 12 and into the S's here. Matthew Dench.
Yeah, that is second place. We're looking at the driver chasing Scott Kimbrough currently. So it's a Mercedes over an Audi. German heritage certainly paying off so far in qualifying for the NARL and their first round of points-paying competition. Now Harry Wills comes across the line, completes lap number 2. Dench goes fastest. How about that? We saw the tail end of his lap. And Harry Wills is not too far from being an Audi. It's also fast. That Lamborghini number 295 joining the top 3 here in qualifying. He was fastest in practice, so it makes sense that he's up there. But now Scott Reister goes faster, and he's in a Mercedes. So very clearly, it seems like straight line speed at top speed is going to pay off. It's paying off currently for the Mercs.
Yeah, exactly. That massive straight after turn 4 is definitely helping out some of these guys in the Mercedes, and that could play dividend in the race, defending and also attacking for position. So some of these guys might be in a prime position. We all know that, well, the Mercedes and the Audi, as Emerson mentioned, they're a bit different in their aspects. The Lamborghini also are very similar to the Audi, pretty much the same chassis and the same engine. But some of these cars drive very, very different. Joshua Benjamin, currently in the pole position for the amateur class, he's doing a perfect job so far, absolutely upsetting some of the pro drivers, finding himself in overall 9th position. So some of these guys really shining through, and it's really nice to see some of these amateur drivers mixing up with some pro drivers. And, well, hopefully he can keep himself up in that position throughout the race.
Yeah, taking a look now at Chad Klinger out of the West category here on the iRacing.com service. So in the United States, but out west could be California, Arizona, who knows? But he goes across the line and will complete another timed lap. He stays second in amateur, but 11th overall. That's pretty impressive that these amateurs are getting up there and mixing things up. They are both faster than the 12th place driver currently, Micah Barnett, in that 2.59. I believe one of the first BMWs. We took a look at his Scuderia, Chicken House number 259 a few moments ago. He's out here again in that 12th spot. Joshua Benjamin a few spots up. Jack Niederbach, he took his spin. He is, it looks like, done for his qualifying run. But Fabio Zamperlini, this is a driver we got rather familiar with back at Road Atlanta Emerson with the Streamers Championship. He was running, of course, for Samsoid in that 237. He is sitting 4th place currently and across the line. We'll see if he goes any faster. The Samsoid Gannon Esports driver trying to take a couple of chips away from the top 3. He does not advance his position, but a 4th place starting spot is not bad.
Yeah, absolutely, and right up there in the thick of the pro drivers. It'll be so interesting to see this start and how everybody can work their way, of course, to the opening set of corners and see where they really settle in. You're always going to have cars around you. I think when this 50-minute race at a track that's set up to kind of keep these cars very close to one another, you watch Tyler Graff work his way through the Mercedes area, and well, a Mercedes works his way through 7, 8, and 9 down to 10. And he'll work his way to the short chute to Mobile 1 corner down here. And again, he's right now trying to work his way. He's right now 14, trying to see if he can improve and maybe get himself into that top 10 right now. 4th in the amateur category. Does he have anything for maybe Klinger or Blake Scott? We'll see. He takes a very, very slow apex there to turn number 12.
Tyler Graff, potentially my favorite livery of the series. He posted some pictures of this in the league Discord, and I was amazed. This just looks good. I'm not sure what about it catches my eye, but it just looks good. And I love the nameplay there with his name, Graff, worked into his graphics company, Graphics. It just works out so nicely. He will stay, it looks like, 15th or so. Doesn't look like he advances too much, if at all. I don't think he does advance there, so he will stay in the 15th starting spot currently. Pennsylvania driver Ian Lake now working down the pit lane with about a minute left in qualifying, and a lot of these guys have wrapped up their runs. It looks like there are 2 drivers currently moving anywhere on the circuit, those being Ian Lake in the pit lane, and here we go, W.F. Amaro Jr. out of Georgia is currently working his way around the Hockenheimring, working to put a lap time in. It's not looking like he will get one. It's going to be closer, JP, but I just don't know if he's got time left to do it in his McLaren.
Well, worst case scenario, if this lap does not complete, it's a bit of an extra practice for the race. Obviously, well, he does miss a bit of the apex on the hairpin turn 6, but at least some practice can never go 2 ways. You know, that's the worst case scenario. Obviously, he's running the McLaren, so kind of a tricky car to, I guess, tame around some of these circuits. Obviously, it's going to be really interesting because this car on the right hands can be extremely quick, but also can be extremely unforgiving. So I'm really interesting to see what he can do with this car. And well, the race is about to start in a few minutes, so well, back to you, Andrew, because I'm excited for this one.
Certainly looking forward to seeing what these guys can do this afternoon from Hockenheimring. Do want to mention you can follow along with coverage here on Pit Stop TV, not only with live video on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, but also on social media. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter features some fantastic social media updates throughout all of our broadcasts, at least all the ones that we can find somebody to do it for. And that's a great segue into mentioning if you're looking to get into sim racing broadcasting, specifically on the iRacing.com service, let us know here at Pit Stop TV, be it on one of the aforementioned social media channels or by emailing me directly at andrew@pitstoptv.com. The gridding process is now underway for all 30-some drivers this afternoon. From Hockenheimring, Matthew Dench taking pole position here in round 1 of the series. He will take pole alongside the 211 of Scott Kimbrough. You see everybody gridding up for a short pace lap. We'll work through these quickly. Starting third will be none other than Jackson Resende in the 225 with Scott Reister to his outside. Starting inside of row number 3, it's Fabio Zamperlini with Harry Wills to his right side. And starting 7th this evening, it's Giuseppe Rivas in the 271 with Daniel Tenorio in 8th. Rounding out your top 10, though, JP Costa, it's going to be Jack Niederbach and Joshua Benjamin, the top of the amateur qualifier, starting 10th.
In 11th place, we do have Aldous Secklin in the 266 and Blake Scott on 12th place on the outside lane. In 13th place, we do have Chad Klinger on the 109 on his outside, Micah Barnett on the 259. In 15th place, we do have Tyler Graff on the 126 and right alongside him on the 202, EJ Nixon. On 17th place, we do have Ian Lake on the 222 and on 18th place, John Sedlak on the 203. Running off row number 10, we do have Josue Manriquez on the 156 and Russell Burton on the 129.
Row number 11, we'll find Shane Kaiko and William Coffey, and we'll find our way back to row number 12. It'll be Federico Tameo and Armando Bejaran. But Andrew, they're coming through the final corners.
We'll quickly work through some of the rest on the bottom of your screen as we come around to take the green flag for the first time this evening, for the first time this season, rather. Boy, I can't wait to get this one going. We're finally green flag in NARL. Down to turn number 1 we go. A massive field headed to the North Curve. Working through Parabolica now for the first time, race pole sitter Matthew Dench still out front. Second place going the way of Jackson Rosende, and down to the hairpin for the first time we'll go. JP Costa, this could be interesting.
Well, the leader absolutely bolted away. He got a perfect start. Jackson Rosende absolutely jumped into second place, nearly gets rear-ended by the Mercedes on the back. Looks like he's gonna have to go defensive as they head into the Mercedes arena. We're gonna see two Mercedes going side by side as they head into the Mercedes arena. Looks like one of them back off, but well, what a start of the race. Everybody going cleanly through turn 1. It looks like we still have all 40 cars pointing at the right direction.
Yeah, very close quarters racing through the hairpin in the Mercedes arena. Now we get to another overtaking zone as the field starts to get a little strung out. We got a little bit of a double file back there, and we're trying to see here into turn 11. Back up here to Matthew Dench, though, into turn number 12. He's opened up a near second advantage up to 8/10, nearly 9/10 of a second over Jackson Rosende. As they work their way to the backside, of course. Rosende trying to see if we can close that gap as we get through the turn 15 and the Sud Curve.
Boy, that was a quick and hectic race start, not just for the drivers, but for us, pretty clearly. We work through lap number 1 now, and Matthew Dent, still your race leader. Jackson Rosende cleanly into second place. Joshua Benjamin, though, has taken over the 7th position, but is still in the lead for our amateurs. But look at that, he's 4 positions clear of Blake Scott, his next amateur competition. This is something we've got to highlight throughout the evening. The Lamborghini of Joshua Benjamin might be quickly working his way up, ladies and gentlemen, to the pro category. What a race start for the 178.
Yeah, absolutely perfect start, perfect qualifying position for him, and a perfect start. That's going to be a great buffer for him to have 3 pro drivers behind him, and it looks like he's gapping them, so he's not feeling under pressure. And if he can get close to Wills right ahead of him, well, we may see another amateur driver battling for position, and who knows, top 5 is just right there. So a perfect start for the championship for Benjamin, and well, so far it can only get better.
Yeah, looking to take a commanding lead here in his category. And what would it be if he were to able to get a top 5? We're right on board here with Jack Knightenbach, who's outside the top 10, now back in the 12th position, trying to see if he can work his way through Blake Scott, one of the amateur drivers right in front of him, that bright yellow BMW Mercedes right up the road. And he's kind of losing touch to these guys. I think he needs to really stay with them here. I know he might be trying to save his equipment early, but you don't really want to lose touch to any of these groups.
And that amateur driver is the 167 of Blake Scott. Looking around for the other Scott, and I'm not actually seeing the 166 of relation in the field. But regardless, Mark and Blake Scott in the league at the very least, and Blake is currently in the 2nd position in amateur competition. Up front, it's rather calm, I would say. Matthew Dench leading the way. Everybody else in the top 5, rather nice and orderly. It looks like they're the top 10, rather nice and orderly, I would say. You've got to go quite a ways back here, JP, to find some competition, and it's going to be Micah Barnett and Jack Niederbach. These two black, red, and white machines, very different, a Ferrari and a BMW, but it seems like they're finding themselves rather close here on just the 3rd lap of competition of an expected 31.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure some of these guys that have started further back he will definitely be wanting to make some positions quickly. As you can see, just having a slight look on the inside, just trying to apply a bit more pressure, going a bit tighter on the apex, definitely getting a better exit looks like than the Ferrari. So these guys are probably going to be taking a few more risks in order to climb up positions in order to have a better result at the end of the race. While up ahead we might see a few drivers actually saving equipment, as Emerson said. But look at this, a Mercedes, a Ferrari, a BMW, pretty much an Italian ham sandwich, if you would, so a lot of drivers applying pressure, trying not to make mistakes, but as you can see, it's just a fine line. Everybody just going a bit towards the edge of the curves, but taking as much time as possible without making mistakes and without getting off tracks is extremely important early on in the race.
Absolutely, trying to find the limit without going over that limit. I'd imagine that's what most of your practice time was used for, but here early on in the race, if you can try to flirt with that limit but keep yourself in contention, even if you go make it a little slow through a corner, keeping that slipstream, kind of regroup and go at it again later on in the circuit, you might be okay. We right on board with Zamperlini here in the 5th position. He tries to close in on Scott Rister for 4th, and actually that's a battle for 3rd with Scott Kimbrough.
Yeah, Scott Reister currently in that 4th position in the number 242. These guys seem to be coming up on some lap traffic already, those being Clarence Rosa, EJ Nixon, and Armando Bejaran, and they must have been caught up in some early incidents, I dare say, on that opening lap, and it looks like some battling. This is right in front of the leaders. We can watch on board even from Matthew Dench as he rolls up on these guys battling for lapped positions at this point in time, and Matthew Dench is going to have company now from Jackson Resende down into the Mercedes arena here at Hockenheimring.
Yeah, exactly. The worst possible scenario for Dench early on in the race. They're 3-4 laps in, and he's already facing traffic. And as you can see, they're battling for position. So blue flags might be a bit of an issue. Looks like the Mercedes and the McLaren might let off before they enter the final section. Do they? Well, looks like he got lucky, but look at his engine. He kind of did not get so lucky. Oh, he nearly comes in contact with the Mercedes, the lap Mercedes, but look at Kimbrough on the inside. Can he take the position? They're going to go side by side through the final few corners, but looks like his engine might just have the edge. And yes, he does. He keeps that position, that 2nd place position for the time being, but look at that cost. 2.3 seconds now to Matthew Dench.
Man, I would be fuming if I'm Resende after getting caught up in lap traffic this early into the race. Already now under heavy attack from Kimbrough. He'll pull away here, but he was right there. The lead was in his grasp, and then, well, there was a bunch of lap cars in his grasp as well, and you can't fault the lap cars either. They're battling for their own positions. They're battling for their own races as well, but this early into the season, 7 minutes into the season, Resende had the chance to take an early lead here, and it just was taken away from him. We'll see if he has what it takes to catch back up, and we're going side by side here for 3rd.
This is actually Scott Reister working by the lapped Mercedes there in that gray and green colors. Oh my goodness, Zamperlini right on the back end of Reister through that corner. And I think that that Mercedes is going to be Armando Bejaran. I'm going to have to double check, and it is Armando in that number 205. So one of the pro drivers, certainly things have not gone his way. He's only been as high as 33rd, which is rather confusing how we're seeing that he's only been as high. Oh, never mind, yeah. He's been as high as 33rd in the wrong way. I had to think about that for a moment. But he started 24th, and clearly something has gone wrong on that opening lap.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely not the ideal position that he wants, that he finds himself, essentially. Obviously, being a pro driver, we kind of do have higher expectations, but, it's still a long race. We're only 8 minutes into the race, and we see that it's possible to overtake on this track. It's definitely possible. He just has to essentially find his mojo, find his rhythm on this racetrack. But it may take some time, but hopefully he can find himself back in contention. But look at AJ Nixon. He's trying to catch up to Bejaran up ahead. But, with this many cars, this prone to mistakes, it could take a while. But looks like with the slipstream, it might be possible within the next few laps.
Absolutely, and we have lap traffic still kind of playing a role here in the top of, or in the middle of this lead group, if you are, front running group. Lap traffic just kind of cycling their way out of the top 4 or 5 here. We work our way further back here. This is William Coffey here in that yellow Porsche working his way. I believe that's also a team car he's right behind as well. Frederick Temei over there in the 18th and 19th positions.
Yeah, so Frederick Tamayo and William Coffey now working through Parabolica down to turn 6, the hairpin. And we're going to have to review our series notes. Of course, these guys are brand new to us. We got to double check and see if they are teammates. And yes, they are both racing for Wheel Deal. So keen eye there, Emerson Arden, picking up on those two being teammates. Very similar painted Porsches for sure. Obviously would have tipped you off to that one. But the yellow and black Porsches now working in the Mercedes arena. They are battling for 18th and 19th, or more so I think at this point, following each other for 18th and 19th on the racetrack. The closest battle ahead of them is going to be Jose Amarado Manriquez, as he works on John Sedlak for the 14th spot. And these two are in different classes as well, so this might be reason for Jose to back off just a little bit and let Sedlak have his thing, as oh my goodness, we got one car around, and that is Micah Barnett in the Chicken House machine.
Yeah, looks like we already have a collision kind of later on, 10 minutes into the race, and just as they enter the final arena. Now that's quite a difficult rejoin. Oh, he almost collects some other drivers, but looks like he comes back very cleanly. We're gonna have to wait and see what happened, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna exit side by side through Saxon Curve turn number 13, but we're gonna have to take a look at the replay here to see what happened to these two drivers.
So here's Barnett. He's closely following a Mercedes up ahead, and they get really tight up here. Everybody kind of bottlenecking in the turn number 12, and oh goodness, he works his way to the inside there of the 101, and right on the exit of the corner, maybe tries to clear up, and I think that's potentially what happened.
And that is the 101, a lapped car of Clarence Rosa, so I wonder... It's kind of interesting. Obviously, the blue flag at that point certainly being displayed to Clarence Rosa in the 101 Mercedes. Sorry, that is not the 101. That looked like the 101 for sure. That is the 167, so that was for position. That was Blake Scott. That gets him on the exit there of Sachs. We'll watch this one more time. We'll watch this actually from well high above the circuit, and we can kind of see how this all develops. There's a checkup there, and... Was that the 101? It's hard. Yeah, that was Clarence Rosa that was being let by, or I suppose was passing, and ends up turning Micah. That's a very interesting situation. We have to go back and watch this from a couple of different angles. I misidentified those cars a couple of different times now, I guess, because Clarence was further ahead of this situation. Clarence falls back a couple of spots, wide there in 10, lets the purple Lamborghini go on by. That's your amateur leader in Joshua Benjamin, rather. And then he lets one car go by here into the corner. And I'm trying to figure out exactly how this all goes. So there goes Blake Scott on the inside. And you can see side by side now, Micah makes a late move, sure. But then on the exit of the corner, there was room that I think Clarence could have gone over. And they just met in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like Clarence finds himself in a difficult position because obviously he's a lap down this early, so he has to let a lot of people go. But as you mentioned, there was a bit of space on the outside. Barnett probably thought that he had a bit more space, but unfortunately kind of just ran into each other. So unfortunate situation there he finds himself into. Ooh, as we nearly find another similar situation, the Lamborghini, the 178 Lamborghini, nearly rear-ending Joshua Benjamin, nearly rear-ending his fellow Italian comrade ahead of him. So, you know, racing is getting a little bit more exciting as we get past that first 10-minute barrier, and people start to, well, they're probably thinking about making positions before the pit cycle eventually comes. So drivers are going to be getting more aggressive, and, well, just as I mentioned, he pretty much rides that sausage curve. So, well, expect to see more overtakes soon.
Yeah, my goodness, the ride that Benjamin took over that sausage curb, and he was right around the area there. I think he was actually one of the drivers who got around the lapped vehicle before there was the essential contact took out Micah Barnett for at least his top 10 run. But it's just so close quarters racing, and then the lapped cars, they're trying to stay out of their way. There's just so much going on, and definitely the use of relative and a potential spotter would definitely help out there, but there's just so much going on. I don't know if I can, you know, and I think the lap car definitely could have given space, but Barnett could have used patience, but he's trying to also stay in his race as well. But we're looking now back off the back end here of Benjamin, looking back at Blake Scott. Scott trying to stay with his amateur race leader as they work their way down the back straightaway through Parabolica and into the hairpin here.
Yeah, this is the amateur race lead we're fighting for as Scott drafts right up to the back end of Joshua Benjamin, takes a look up the inside. Will he take the move? He will go for it in turn number 6. No, he backs out wisely there. It didn't quite look like the look of things. Backs out, gives that one back up to Benjamin Johnson. So clearly some fantastic racing sportsmanship there on display between these two drivers. But you do have to wonder, JP, when does Blake Scott then make that move? Time is going to run out eventually. You can't wait for too long.
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of expecting the move to be done. Essentially, he had the car on the inside, and 9 times out of 10, we do see that move being finished, but not this time. So we do see the Lamborghini being a little bit braver on the brakes, at least on the hairpin, but the Mercedes just seems to be, just catching on. As you can see, just going deeper on the braking on the Saxon curve. The car kind of gets unsettled, but he seems to be brave, just probably not brave enough where he needs to be. But at this time, well, he can learn a bit from the race leader. He can kind of understand his lines, learn the driver, and, well, just plan out his move. He still has 35 minutes to go. But as you mentioned, eventually time will run out. And if you want that race win for your class, you have to make the move soon.
I agree, but I think he's more trying to learn, maybe play it safe and just see where he has the advantage over Joshua Benjamin. They still have to make their pit stop in this race. They're running 50% fuel load, so there definitely should be a pit stop. I'd imagine that Blake Scott would maybe attempt a short pit on Joshua Benjamin to try to get around him, but if he can't execute a short pit on Joshua Benjamin and he can just stay with Benjamin, then he'll learn for later in the race to maybe make a little bit more of an aggressive dive there, maybe down into the hairpin. He wanted to, probably looked very enticing, but I commend him for taking it easy and trying to learn maybe a little bit more about his competitor.
Certainly have to agree with you there, Emerson. I was still a bit surprised that Blake didn't take the move up to the inside. I mean, he had his car alongside that of Joshua Benjamin, but certainly I think a big brain play, if you will, from Blake Scott to wait this one out and see how he can size up his race lead competitor furthermore. Matthew Dench still leading the way, though, in pro and overall, of course, as he works his way through the final couple of corners of lap number 10. So this will complete about a third of the race here, JP. We're quickly working our way through this one, as 17 minutes will be complete very, very soon. I do wonder exactly when the first move will be made to come in and pit. 50% fuel will give you about a half an hour of racing, so you can expect these guys anywhere from about minute 20 to, I guess, minute 30, I dare say.
Yeah, exactly. That time will come. Obviously, for some drivers, it will take longer, essentially just 1 or 2 extra laps. Some of these guys are running in trains, just like we're seeing right now. So obviously running behind someone allows you to lift and coast, taking a bit easier, saving a bit of fuel. And some of these guys may already be thinking about long-term strategy, just kind of thinking ahead instead of just trying to make a move and just being left out to dust. So some of these guys might be going off 1 or 2 laps longer. I'm pretty sure Dench and Resende, since they're both running kind of in clear air, they might just come at the same time. But some of these guys further back, especially Zamperlini, he's kind of in a prime position, not probably to take the lead, but definitely to jump out Kimbrough if the time comes to probably undercut him or overcut him on the pit lane.
I definitely agree. If you're right there in that, I guess, lead battle, the lead is in your sights, maybe 3-4 seconds up the road from you, you definitely have the opportunity to play a little bit of strategy and see if it works out. So you have a vehicle on pit road. That is Tyler Graff in the 126, and right behind him that is Josue Manriquez, who had an accident off of turn number 10 a couple laps ago, who is now at the very back end of the running order. A lot of damage to the front end of that Ferrari.
Yeah, we can get kind of a look at his machine there. Josue has got a lot of damage, but takes a fast repair right there. So the AM driver of the 156 will get back out there and will continue competing. So the Studio KO machine needs a little bit of help, but sitting in, it looks like about the 30th spot, has some opportunity here. And if he can stretch fuel a little bit, if he can take this fuel to the end, this won't be as detrimental as you might think. We're very close to that cutoff here, guys, to where he could make it to the end on this tank of fuel that I'd imagine he just took with that pit service. So his Ferrari is not out of things just yet, just a little bit wounded and certainly sorted down through the running order. 31 minutes to go. Still watching race leader now in Matthew Dench, just ahead of Resende. And Resende earlier, Emerson, we talked about it, how Resende certainly had reason to be annoyed, but he has made every bit of what he lost right back up, and he's right back on the tail end now of that Audi up ahead. But that BMW, it is front engine. It is a little bit more boaty, certainly a fantastic platform in that BMW M4, but just a little bit more of a front weight bias as compared to the more balanced Audi platform, being that it is rear-engined, and we've seen it time and time again. I mean, literally the Chevrolet Corvette went to a mid-engine platform because it can attack corners so much better than a front-engine platform. So while there's nothing wrong necessarily with the front-engine platform, JP, the rear-engine platform certainly attacks corners better and seems better for sports car racing, and I dare say that's why we're seeing this Audi currently lead this BMW at Hockenheimring.
Yeah, exactly. It probably suits a bit better the Audi. Obviously, the car is going to suit a bit better on those tight technical scenarios. Probably the BMW has a bit of extra, let's say, oomph on the straights. As we can see, Resende obviously caught up, as you mentioned. He got held up on the first few laps. The gap dropped all the way down to 2.6 at one point, but he's slowly catching up. So that BMW, even though it's might be struggling a bit on those technical section, is definitely catching up on this first, I dare say first and second sector. This massive straight is where the Audi kind of struggles and the BMW kind of shines. So if he can get that gap to as close as it was before that lapped car incident, Resende might be in a good shout to probably put this BMW on the inside lane, probably just dive down the inside, because he's gonna have the extra legs. Now Dench has to do everything that he can to stretch this gap as much as he can on the technical section, so he keeps that position safe for the time being at least.
Absolutely. And looking at this now, Dench has actually opened up a little bit of the margin. It was 0.8 of a second. It's back up to 1.2. And this could be Dench maybe potentially pushing a little bit, noticing that margin has since shrunk. I think maybe he was taking it easy when he had a 2.5 second advantage. And absolutely would expect that a little wide there for Dench. Maybe he is pushing a little bit. And then we'll see here into turn 12, a little bit of banking here. If Resende can close that gap, it's down to a second as we work our way to the backside of the final couple corners of the course here. And again, when do we see pit stops? Do we see maybe Resende, who is quickly making gains as he try a short pit? And I say short pit, I know they're not going to take tires, but maybe just get out of Matthew Dench's dirty air. That could be very beneficial, but it also becomes, where do you come out in after your pit stop? Do you come out in the thick of the midfield?
Well, the first of the drivers that we've seen pit, and this could have been prompted by other problems, but the first of the drivers that we've seen pit has been that of Tyler Graff in the 126, one of our amateur competitors. He currently rides in the 26th spot. I say that, and Jack Niederbach is in for FTR Esports. You see race pace above the rear wheel and race director on the rear wing. That number 245 Ferrari has made the first move. I think this is the first move of many. The next time around, I would expect several more drivers to come in this time through, JP. It just seems like the first opportunity really to pit safely, and I don't know. I think as a driver as well, I would want to pit a little bit earlier than later. I think Niederbach has got that figured out. We'll see what the rest of these guys do, as already our race leader Matthew Dench through the Mercedes arena will come back around to turn number 10 now, and we'll be back around to the pit lane very, very shortly. Now, something I've noticed up front has been the difference of team versus no team between Resende and Dench, and Resende is competing in this series at the very least for Samsoid Kanan Esports, and of course we had Tony Kanan and Samsoid in the field back in the Streamers Championship as they go by a lap Ferrari there. In the Streamers Championship back at Road Atlanta in a pre-season just kind of exhibition race. It's interesting to me that Samsoid has got still a really solid presence in this series, and I think that surely elevates the level of this series right out of the gates. Having Samsoid Kanan Esports out here is huge, but they're currently chasing an independent Audi in Matthew Dench. No teammates for that guy. He's out there in his number 283 all by his lonesome, which is really amazing to me, the fact that he's leading the field the way he is.
Yeah, exactly. That just shows, sometimes obviously a team helps a lot. Having a team behind you, helping you with setup, race pace, practice, all that sort of stuff, it helps a lot. But sometimes an independent guy just comes in, we're not sure what he's doing. We're not sure who he has behind him to help. We're not sure if he's doing this all by himself, the setup, the work on the car, the practice sessions. So it's kind of everything just becomes a mystery, and it's just so amazing to see. He's leading right now. Resende has kind of caught up to him once again, but the way that he has been dealing with this race, soaking up all the pressure, all this sort of stuff, is just amazing. And this guy as well, Zamperlini, Resende's teammate, is also doing a fantastic job chasing that 211 of Kimbrough right ahead. So probably thinking about the strategy kind of differently from Resende, and these guys obviously might be communicating on the same, let's say, team channel, and probably sharing that information. And that's all the stuff that Dench does not have at this point in time, at least not that we're aware of. So it just becomes such an interesting game to see what is going on behind the scenes, when you look over just the cars and the track itself.
I think that's the beauty of iRacing, is that, as opposed to real life, maybe if you are a solo team or all that, you're kind of at a disadvantage. And here on iRacing, you have the access to put in time in test sessions and practice sessions and all that, and ask people throughout the community who maybe not even are involved in this series at all, to try to just get some information. Now, granted, of course, in race, it would absolutely be beneficial to maybe get some in race information about, how the car may be changing and all that. But at the same time, I think this could be an audition for Matthew Dench. Maybe he gets picked up by a team if he truly is an independent, and a team is looking to maybe fill a slot or add another car to their arsenal. Matthew Dench is coming out and showing up the rest of the competition for sure.
Certainly a possibility. You see there's two groupings of drivers at this point in the top 5, top 6 or so. Scott Reister's at the back end of them as he follows Harry Wills. He gets all kinds of on that sausage curb out of turn number 6, on board now with Scott Reister. We haven't taken a look at the weather just yet, guys. It's a rather cool race here at Hockenheimring. The issue, though, usually with cool races, now, if you're on an oval, you want cold temperatures usually because it tends to give you a little bit more grip. It tends to extend tire life as long as it's not too cold. But on road, there's a lot more pavement to heat up. It takes a lot more to warm up the track. You see track temp only at 72 degrees, JP. It's rather chilly, I dare say, even though in real life we're in the dead of summer in the northern hemisphere. Obviously, not so much for you down in Brazil, but certainly, I would have expected a much warmer race for these guys. This cooler temperature is rather interesting to see as we have a white McLaren working down to the pit lane that almost looked like a race leader, but it does not dent in the pit lane. My point is, though, this could take a toll on tires, and it may come down to the driver who preserves their tires the best to win this race.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, it's, I guess, a two-way knife. I'm not pretty sure what the saying is, but, a cooler track, it might hurt the tires a little bit. Obviously, it will take a longer to essentially heat them up, get them up to temperature, all this sort of stuff. But it also prevents the tire getting up to temperature. But, in a track like this, where you only have, I guess, one major technical section, which is the last sector, and you have that massive straight to kind of cool off the tires, it's kind of difficult to see how this balance is going to play out to some of these cars, as we do see Rivas, the 271 on the pit lane. But, we also know that cars react differently to tires, so we may see some different manufacturers just taking advantage of the cooler temps while other might be struggling. So it's just gonna be a question of when we get to the end, the final 5-10 minutes, who has the better tires in better shape and who can attack more, and those who have to, I guess, kind of deal with the hand that they have been dealt with.
Yeah, absolutely. The tires would have to work more, I think, on a cooler track, and a hotter track would make it easier for your tires to get up to temp. A lot of these vehicles damaged right there. Stu Leslie coming in and taking a quick repair there as he stops in the box for his service, and the rear end of that out of the rear, all sorts of messed up for Derek Dennis in the 150. It looked like it's been a war in the midfield.
And that certainly makes sense, I'd say, for Hockenheimring. The way things get started here does tend to be a little bit hectic. Certainly we saw that for the start of our broadcast, even, we'll just say. The green flag was interesting. 22 minutes to go. We finally see our race leader in. These drivers are going much deeper in this race than I would have expected. I do suppose halfway is only 25 minutes, but still, we're getting rather close to that 30-minute mark that we would have expected these guys to hit as a cap. And now, finally, the Australian race leader is in the pit lane. Here comes Scott Kimbrough. He's already in. actually right behind our pole sitter as well. Scott Reister is in for service, Harry Wills, as well as Daniel Tenorio. We've got Aldo Secklin. We've got, it looks like Blake Scott in the pit lane as well. Several drivers in for service. There's Blake Scott out of California. Ian Lake is in the 222. We've got John Sedlak from JS Consulting in the 203. The list goes on, guys. We've got William Coffey in the 157 coming in. Russell Burton now in the 129. Philip Ranieri in the 108 out of Canada. So many of these drivers coming in right now. This is the mark for all of them.
Yeah, exactly. So effectively, first and third are on the pits. Second and fourth, the two Brazilian boys are still out on the racetrack.
The two Samsung drivers, the two Samsung Canon drivers.
Exactly. Those two are still out on the track, so they're probably communicating, as we mentioned before. So, I mean, team communication might be key within these two. Zamperlini seems to be catching up quite a bit to Resende, catching up 3/10 on this lap alone. I was noticing the gap. As you can see, Resende now, the provisional race leader, comes down into the pit lane. So time will tell. His teammate also comes in. So we're going to have to wait and see who jumps who. If Zamperlini saved a bit of fuel, is just enough to kind of jump back into third place, and if Resende can jump himself into the lead.
And I think Resende was maybe needing a little bit of clean air to make up a little bit of time to, well, overall leader Matthew Dench. And you'll see here, these pro drivers, I've noticed all the pro drivers who came in last time and the pro drivers now, they're all kind of angled towards pit out a little bit more. And I think more the amateurs, and I know myself, would probably not even think to angle the car out, especially as you're closer to pit exit. I think that is a very nice detail I've seen. I picked up from these pro drivers just watching these guys pit.
That may have been an unsafe pit entry there for Bruno Alcaraz that was all over the grass on entry here at Hockenheimring, and that could come back to bite the 244. We don't know just yet. Obviously, if it's a much longer pit stop, that would stand to reason. And look at this, Scott Reister is back in. That must be a penalty for him, or he missed some sort of service. Back in the pit lane, is it just a stop and go? He's taking proper service, it looks like that, where he's got to serve a time penalty in the box. Scott Reister, oh boy, this is big for the driver out of Texas. And I'll just go ahead and tell everybody, he has been our contact. He runs the show here for the North American the North American Racing League, and the 242 is in for a penalty, it seems. That is race killing for Scott Reister.
Definitely not what he wanted. It just shows, the fine line is just what a small mistake sometimes can cost you. And unfortunately, just that quest to win 1/2 of a second can cost you 20-30 seconds overall. So that is pretty much heartbreaking.
Look at this.
Looks like by the timing sheets, looks like Matthew Dench lost out the lead. Zamperlini also jumped into third place. So the two Canon sports driver, both of them jumped their position. So I'm not pretty sure if it was team communication. I'm going to go by it, but looks like the overcut has worked for both drivers, and now the positions are switched. Looks like the BMW will have to defend against the Audi.
Yeah, I went on and on about how Resende would have to try an undercut. It looks like the overcut worked perfectly, and for what it's worth, this is going to be the first time today that Matthew Dench is in dirty air. And we're going to see how that Audi can handle it, how it's set up. I don't know if he anticipated to be on the pole and lead as much of the race as he did, but now we'll see if that Audi can handle the way it has been handling for Matthew Dench in this dirty air of Jackson Resende. And if Resende, vice versa, can get used to the clean air, I'm sure clean air will feel much better than the dirty air of a single sports car ahead of you, but still, Resende will have to get a little used, especially with different fuel load from what he was just running. This will be very interesting, the final 17.5 minutes.
This is certainly problematic if you're Matthew Dench to lead the entire race right to the pit stop and do so by a rather commanding margin, I would say. It seemed like Resende had the speed to get there, but didn't take any cracks at the race lead. Now Resende, through the pit stop, takes the race lead. It doesn't look like he's looking back. I think if you're Resende, this is where you've got to just throw caution to the wind and go ahead and go up there and do everything you can. We're coming up to 15 minutes to go. At their current pace, a little over, looks like a minute and a half per lap. I don't know if I could do the quick math. Somebody out in the chat can do the math, but Resende off in the gravel right there. And this is a fantastic note, actually. That could have been an incident penalty, potentially, for Scott Reister. These drivers did come into this race with a little bit of concern about a 15 incident limit for Hockenheimring. You can see how easy it is in runoff and certainly the runoff curbing, I would say, and getting into the artificial green turf there, and then the gravel. There is definitely concern about going off track too many times and getting a penalty, if not getting disqualified from this race. You see Dench definitely win over some of the runoff there, and I would imagine that would be a 1x off track. But I've seen these guys use a lot of runoff so far today. JP, I'd imagine they've got to be getting close.
Yeah, exactly. These guys are obviously running to the limit on the track limits, but we saw just on the broadcast, turn 1, I guess that's the main point where drivers will be getting instant points, because it's just such a fast corner. It's just a quick braking, quick downshift, quick turn in, and then you have just to carry so much speed, because even though it's a short straight from turn 1 to turn 2, is just enough to, I guess, lose enough time to be able to be vulnerable to the car behind. So you just have to get into that limit, and we saw Resende just getting close, dipping a wheel into the gravel, not enough to upset the car, but it could be close enough, as you mentioned, to get those instant points. And one lap, it's fine, but once it adds up and once you start feeling the pressure, you kind of just become more cautious, and sometimes that cautiousness makes you lose time, and once you lose time, you start taking more risks, and more instant points can come. So it gets interesting. Now Dench is the one that kind of dips a wheel into the gravel, so these two guys are pushing to the limit on these final 15 minutes.
Absolutely. You saw Resende last lap get ultra wide there through turn 11, and you saw it was a very, very, very tame corner exit through turn 11 that time around for Resende. I think he understands maybe the risk of the incident points and potentially just risk losing the car, getting a little too much gravel there. But in turn, that has allowed Dench to close up to, it was 0.6 of a second through the backside of that final sector, but up to 0.7 of a second now, and there's lap traffic that can play into the factor here. And to send up the inside, that could have been very close with the number 150 Audi, as Resende and Dench both worked their way past that lap vehicle. But we've already seen Resende have his fair share of fun with lap traffic today.
Certainly, and with that bit of action in the rearview mirror, I do want to wrap back around to the amateur race lead. Joshua Benjamin still holding things down in the 10th position overall, but first in the amateur category. He's the first yellow number and the only yellow number in the top 10 that you can see on your ticker. If you fall a little further back, though, you'll find Blake Scott still in the second place in the amateur category, just ahead of that lap car that we talked about earlier on, impacting things just a little while ago. I got to kind of think back, there was Armando Bejaran in the 205 car, one of the pros actually. So those two drivers' pace have actually kind of met in the middle, it looks like. Bejaran is all over Blake Scott, but you've got to go a little further back to one, it looks like William Coffey potentially for third place in the amateur category, and then he's got Russell Burton a little ways further back. This amateur category is very, very strung out, JP. Only 4 or 5 cars, even from 10th to 20th. Everybody else in that category much further back.
Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna mention that Benjamin and Scott, they do have quite of a safe buffer, I'd say, to one each other, and obviously they're rivals. But after that, it kind of, as you mentioned, just spreads out. Obviously, from 21st to 30th, you do have 9 cars out of 10 that are amateur. But from that top 20. Not a lot of drivers. Obviously, we do have Coffey, Burton, Braun, and Leslie right now in the 20th place, but it's really, really spread out, unlike the pro category. So kind of interesting to see some of the tactics. Obviously, Benjamin has been the class of the amateur field so far, top 10, and kind of applying pressure to 9th place of Sadiak. So some amateur drivers really excel, really shining through their category, I'd say.
Absolutely. Joshua Benjamin has done a phenomenal job today, and what would it mean to him and potentially his competitors, and maybe even the pro category, if he can get out there and really stick it to some of these drivers in the top 10. It's a great run for sure, and it's been nice because we had the battle for the amateur lead kind of spark up earlier in this race, especially when the battle for the overall race lead, the pro lead, kind of had its dull moment of the race, when after the lap cars kind of broke it up for a little bit, and then we kind of got the lead battle back, and we'll see here Benjamin has pulled away from his competitors in his category, but he's built up a solid buffer now, and I think he really has the opportunity here to just go for overall where's the best place he can finish.
So as we approach 11 and a half minutes to go, 11 will come after that, and then 10 minutes to go in this race. The opening round of the North American Racing League. Do want to invite you all, if you're watching on YouTube and Facebook, to take part in a poll that we've just launched on our live stream in the chat. You can vote for who will win this battle between Resende and Dench. Let us know, if you're watching along on YouTube or Facebook, who you think will win this pro battle between Jackson Resende and Matthew Dench. We want to know, because certainly this is shaping up to be a classic this afternoon, this evening, this morning, wherever you're watching from at Hockenheimring. This is setting out to be a fantastic little dandy. It's Resende and Dench leading the way. Zamperlini, the other Samsoid driver, in the top three. Then you've got Kimbrough in the fourth position, Wills in fifth, Tenorio in eighth, then Ravas, Secklin, Sedlak, and Benjamin, the amateur driver, rounding out your top 10. And JP, we're getting very, very close to the end of this one. This is by all means go time. It has been go time for a little while, but if you're not going just yet, you might not get going at all.
Yeah, exactly. These guys have to be, I mean, at 100%, 110% pace at this moment, especially Dench. If he wants to get close to that BMW, he's struggling a bit on the straight lines I'm watching. And as you know, Andrew, I'm a numbers person. I keep looking at the data, and Zamperlini is the guy that has been keeping up pace with Dench and Resende. So if anything happens to these two, if they start battling, start going side by side, start losing time with lapped cars, Zamperlini is very much a guy that can keep up with these two, at least on clear air. He has gapped Kimbrough by over a second at this point in time. So if anything happens to these two, don't rule him out just yet. He has the pace to keep up, at least on clear air, but these two have been going at it. I mean, Dench is just pushing to the limits. As you can see, just nearly putting all four wheels outside the curbing into turn one, but looks like that BMW just has the extra muscles on the straight.
I cannot disagree. I was expecting the Audi, especially when it got out to the early lead, to hold on there for Matthew Dench. And of course, pit stops have ran through and ran its course. And I don't know how that Audi does really feel in dirty air, but I'd imagine it's probably not to Dench's liking just yet, or maybe Resende just has that overall pace. I cannot wait to go back and see what the incident count for each of these drivers have been, because almost every time I look up at one of these drivers, one of them's kicking up dirt, or there's some grass blades being kicked up. It is really something, and now that doesn't always mean that that's an incident point, but that means that they are oh so close to the edges of the track, either trying to cut it a little short on entry or the inside of the corner, or run as wide as they can there on the exit.
A lot of votes coming in so far looking to be in Matthew Dench's favor, but he's got to get something going in the closing laps, in the closing minutes here at Hockenheim, in order to get up there and battle Resende. And that's just a battle Resende, let alone beat him. You see a little bit off getting to that bottom line there and getting to the curbing in turn 12, but he makes it work anyways, and through 13 and 14 still tailing that green and yellow BMW of Resende. Now back around to the paddock and the home stretch. We'll take 8.5 minutes to go, and these drivers will take about 5 laps to go. It looks like, no, 6 laps to go potentially of 6 laps to go of what we expect based on the amount of time. It looks like we're going to hit 31 laps when it's all said and done here, JP. I'm still not sure who wins this battle, to be entirely honest with you. I can't disagree with the votes coming in for Matthew Dench. It just seems like he's got a lot of work to do.
It seems like the roles have been reversed from the first stint that we saw. We saw Dench essentially pulling a gap, and then obviously Resende kind of caught him up near the pit stop window, but couldn't really get close enough to pass. And this seems to be exactly the carbon copy, essentially, of the second stint. Resende has just found himself comfortable in that P1 position, and Dench, even though he's close, he's less than a second behind, he's kind of dropping back a few tenths a lap right now, but he does not seem to get close enough to pass where the Audi is stronger than the BMW. Probably here in the second and third sector, he can catch up a few tenths of a second, but not close enough to make a move in order to stick the position and probably get the lead back. So it will take some work. It's possible. We saw him leading and we saw how comfortable it is, but it's just kind of just trying to catch up enough. But the BMW and Resende seems awfully strong as well on the lead. So I'm happy with either one of them winning, because both of them seem extremely strong.
Absolutely. I love the dynamic of the race, and that it's gone to one person, and it's kind of fall into another now, and oh my goodness, very wide for Resende. That could be huge. However, if he had maybe a slowdown for extending the track or an incident point, put him even closer to that potential 15-point incident penalty. And I still think this battle is probably going to be decided on lap traffic. If lap traffic continues to be as consistently clean as they have been over the past 10 or 15 minutes, I think Resende may have this easily, but we'll see here. Again, 6.5 minutes, and Dench is still trying to put on the pressure, but this is actually one of the largest margins Resende has opened up since the pit stop here, 1.1 seconds.
And I invite you all to check out the bottom portion of our ticker now on the left side of the screen. I've noticed a bit of a pattern as of late. Now, if this timing and scoring holds, and I know this can be a little bit wonky with cars running and derunning, it looks like there's a line of amateur drivers in a row. So let's take a look and check some of this out. It looks like it does change a little bit, but there is still a line, it looks like, a little further back around this 20th position. If we can try and get them to pop up here, at least for the time being, we can find Russell Burton leading this charge in the 17th position in his BMW, a little ways ahead of Mike Braun in the 107 Mercedes. So with 5 minutes to go, there's a 4-second difference there. Then 2 seconds back to Frederick Tamayo in, I got to think about it, the Wheel Deal Porsche. He is ahead of teammate William Coffey, who is ahead of, not teammate, certainly, Philip Ranieri, who is in the pit lane. Ranieri coming in, so the Canadian having some issues. He'll have to come back in for some service, potentially a penalty. Stu Leslie now passes that driver, so he moves up to, it looks like, the 21st position overall, and is the final car, as well, on the lead lap. Our leaders have just rounded turn 1, and there's Resende. So that's where things wrap around between the amateurs and the pros, now inside of 5 minutes to go.
So it looks like we do have, as you mentioned before, Andrew, it's a bit struggle, but it looks like it's pretty much everybody who's on the amateur class is kind of battling their own battles. As you mentioned, it's a 4-2 second gap, but it kind of fluctuates as drivers start making mistakes, they get lapped. So it kind of fluctuates, but, those guys in the amateur have just as a difficult task as the guy in pro, because obviously the guys in pro, they do have to manage traffic in order to keep their position. These two battling, trying to not lose enough time to one another. But the guys in amateur, when you think about it, they're being lapped, but they're also battling for position. So they do have to know a bit of the track and the drivers that are lapping them in order to not lose position and track position to the drivers ahead of behind them. So it's an interesting race from both perspectives. Obviously, we do kind of focus a bit more on the overall leader, but it's interesting to see the amateur POV as well.
Absolutely, and again, everybody is in their own race, and again, in this 33 car field, and again, there's been some retirements as well, but everybody in their own race, having their own battles, fighting for their own positions, and fighting for their teams, have their own agendas and all that. It's all coming together, and unfortunately, this is also, what happens. It could be, one of the reasons that we see lap traffic maybe play a factor later. But here's Joshua Benjamin, again, the amateur race leader, and a phenomenal job today. Has, I think, well over 7 seconds to his next closest competitor in his class. I believe that would be Blake Scott. And Joshua Benjamin just doing a phenomenal job. 3.5 minutes reign, less than that now. And just phenomenal, that purple and black Lamborghini.
With 3 minutes to go now, it looks like we should take 2 laps to go the next time by the flag stand. So he'll come around, he'll take 3 to go, actually, will Joshua Benjamin, but our leaders will take 2 laps to go the next time through. The laps are winding down. At this point, a lot of the field is spread out. There aren't too many positions left up for grabs. One that is up for grabs potentially is Scott Kimbrough, on Fabio Zamperlini. And I mention this because Zamperlini is, Zamperlini and Kimbrough are as close as Resende and Dench have been for most of this run, if not actually now closer as the time starts to run out. Scott Kimbrough has got something in the last few laps here at Hockenheimring. He might have something for third place, and he might unseat that Sam Swed Kanan driver for that final podium spot.
I was just going to mention that Zamperlini was kind of keeping up pace with Dench and Resende, but on the previous few laps, he has just been dropping off slowly but surely, and Kimbrough has, kind of just picked up the pace a bit because he saw the gap shrinking down, and he definitely saw a possibility to fight for the overall podium. And less than a second now, so they find themselves, as you mentioned, pretty much a carbon copy of what we see the battle for first place. So kind of interesting to see. He has only 2 or 3 laps left to kind of, I guess, go for a move. These guys are also fighting for position. Giuseppe Rivas only 7/10 of a second, 8/10 of a second to the car ahead. So quite a lot of battles kind of emerging on the final few laps, because drivers are obviously starting to push. The drivers ahead feeling the pressure, and well, things are gonna get hot for some of the drivers on these last 2 laps.
2 laps remaining, and everything is still up in the air, really, because anything can happen. I just saw Shane Kaiko have a drive-through. He fell from 12th to 16th in the running order, and again, that can easily happen on the last lap. And if you can't even serve the drive in the last lap, then that gets assessed as a post-race penalty. I believe that puts you maybe last car in the lead lap, or they just add the amount of time it would take you to travel down the pit lane if it's a drive-through to your race time. But still, a minute left, and if you're flirting with the incident point limit, you better be keeping it in between those white lines.
Absolutely. We'll come around and take the white flag momentarily. We momentarily saw this battle with Giuseppe as, oh my goodness, that's the number 150, the lapped Audi that we saw a little bit earlier on. I want to say, Derek Dennis in the 150 car. He goes behind Giuseppe here in the 271. Giuseppe's got a great opportunity to try and get up there and pass Aldo Sekla. This would be for 7th position if you're keeping track. And this could be pretty big, actually, for Giuseppe. We haven't seen much of this 271 machine until about now. But the Wahuka Racing driver has but one teammate in the field. And I got to go up to the AM category to find him, I believe. I'm looking around. I don't see him right off the top of my eye, but I know he's got one teammate in the field somewhere along. Regardless, he's working to get up into the 7th position, but the white flag has been shown to our race leader, Resende, and he's still losing the vote as the white flag is now officially displayed. He's still losing the vote on YouTube, but man, I don't know that you can bet against him at this point here, JP. Just a few moments left. I mean, literally less than a lap here at Hockenheimring, and he's got over a second gap.
Yeah, exactly. The gap is already up to 1.3 seconds as he approaches turn 6. He's pretty much halfway through the circuit at this moment in time. And well, if he keeps within the white lines, if he keeps in the tarmac, this is pretty much race over. The gap is still increasing 1.3, so I'm not pretty sure if Dench is facing some sort of fuel issue at this moment in time, but Resende just seems in control at this point, so just keeping the heart rate low, the mistakes shouldn't happen at this point in time, and he should just cruise to, I guess, hard-fought and strategy-wise victory. But unfortunately for Dench, just coming very, very close to victory lane.
Final few corners here for Jackson Resende, and it's been a phenomenal drive, and we've seen Resende and Dench just absolutely leave it all on the track and even off the track. But Jackson Resende, what a phenomenal job he's done today to find his way around Matthew Dench through the pit stops.
Around Sud Curve for the final time, and Jackson Resende will come around out of turn number 16 to collect the first checkered flag in the North American Racing League as the Samsoid Canon Esports driver taking top honors at Hockenheimring. Jackson Resende, race number 1 winner. We'll fall back to the amateur battle, and it's Blake Scott in second, trying to find, actually, no, something's happened, I think. No? Yes, something's happened to Joshua Benjamin, potentially. The scoring is a bit weird, but no, Joshua Benjamin is in the final corner. So that little crisis averted, even though the scoring is a little bit wonky. That'll get sorted here momentarily. But it is Joshua Benjamin rounding turn 16, Sud Curve for the final time, and he will take his own checkered flag. The amateur win in round 1 goes to Joshua Benjamin.
I mean, what a drive from Benjamin. We saw how good he was in qualifying, how confident he was in qualifying with the Lamborghini, and I'm pretty sure that everything just came alive in the race with a big, big gap to second place, challenging pro drivers. I mean, what more can you ask from an amateur driver? Also finishing the overall top 10, so perfect race for him. He should be very, very proud of that because that was an amazing result for him.
Yeah, absolutely a great drive once again from Joshua Benjamin, and to survive here at the Hockenheimring again. We've seen cars absolutely damaged. We've seen drivers have their incident point penalty serving their drive-throughs, especially later on in the race, and Benjamin just keeping it all 4 tires on the track. Same thing with Resende and most of the front runners up here in the top 10 of the pro category, but top 10 for an amateur driver in the season opener has got to turn a lot of heads in Joshua Benjamin's direction.
Well, as these drivers come along and complete their final lap, a few more stragglers will come across the start-finish line and we'll drive back around to the pit lane, but that will do it for racing action from Hockenheimring. But we have post-race coverage on the way. The North American Racing League, presented by RaceLab, TAM Livery, and JS Consulting, has just wrapped up round number 1 from Hockenheimring, but so much more to go as far as coverage and talking with these drivers. You do not want to miss it here on Pit Stop TV. I invite you all to stay along with us. A lot more to go as far as just covering all of these stories and learning about these drivers. So, whether you're a seasoned veteran as far as being a fan of these drivers in this series, or if you're brand new to every single one of these names, or potentially even brand new to us here at Pit Stop TV, by all means, stick with us here. We've got a lot more to talk about. That has been 50 minutes of racing action, post-race coverage on the way.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of two products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
Welcome back to the virtual Hockenheimring. What a show that was. It didn't quite come down to a nail-biting finish, but certainly it was a lot of fun watching Resende and Dench do battle. And I think more so mind games than anything, JP. It was a lot of fun, and certainly I would say a treat being able to watch these guys do their work here at the Hockenheimring in Baden-Württemberg, Germany. Hopefully I'm getting that relatively correct as well, Baden-Württemberg. That's certainly not my first language, but hey, hopefully it's close, and we'll get straight into our post-race coverage. I got to lead off then with our P2 finisher, Matthew Dench. It didn't always look like Matthew Dench was going to be in P2, but Matt, it doesn't quite come out to a P1, maybe the P1 that you would have wanted this afternoon here at Hockenheimring.
No, not quite.
So obviously we saw the undercut there from Jackson, or sorry, the overcut rather. He went longer than you. You pitted it 1 lap sooner. Do you think that was the difference? Do you think it was maybe him getting that extra lap, maybe in clean air? What do you think was the difference maker, I suppose, in your battle?
I put in like 5 or 6 liters too much. I had crew chief telling me one thing and fuel calculator telling me the other, so I just went with the bigger number this time. But, yeah.
Well, it's better safe to be sorry, I would say, especially in this first race of the series, and there's 7 more races to make up this ground on Resende. Are you looking to make up that ground immediately at Road Atlanta, or is there another track that you've got your eyes on?
I mean, Road Atlanta's one of the great tracks, definitely a favourite. Not sure what car to bring there though.
Yeah, I'd imagine the car choice being open is really going to help you guys as drivers. How do you attack a series like this then, where you can kind of move around between cars?
Well, throughout the last couple of weeks, I tested all of the cars, and I had 3 running about the same pace in the low 37s, and the Audi felt the most stable for me, so that's what I run with today.
Well, it works out for you, Matthew. Again, not quite P1, but certainly a very strong showing. Sitting on pole in the entire first half of the race and then some, and just coming up a little bit short. Congratulations to you, Matthew. Who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out?
I don't know. I just sort of like wing this one all solo, so no real shout outs this time.
Well, fair enough, Matthew. Congratulations once again on taking a podium finish, 2nd place this evening at Hockenheimring. We'll see you next week at Road Atlanta.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
So Matthew Dench finishes things up in the 2nd place in pro category. Congratulations to Matthew. We'll hand things down then to the amateur winner in Joshua Benjamin in that purple and black Lamborghini.
So Joshua, obviously a perfect start to the season to you, a top 10 overall finish in the amateur class. I mean, you won by quite a big margin. Talk us through qualifying. You were already dominant in qualifying. Did that result in that pole position essentially just give you that extra confidence to just pretty much run away with the victory on the race itself?
Absolutely. I wasn't expecting to be essentially pole in amateur class. I was expecting either Blake or what was it, Chad? Or there was a couple of guys who were pretty quick in this class, so I wasn't definitely not expecting to be sitting on pole. So it was a very welcome surprise.
And during the race itself, you had a healthy margin, but you were also battling with some pro drivers. Does that difference in classes kind of intimidate you, or you just take it as another driver in another position to battle with?
It's another driver in another position to battle with, but in the same breath, I know I'm not really racing them, so it's going to be a little more give respect, get respect, and not try and push them too hard, and they'll give me the same thing and hope.
Exactly. That's a perfect mindset to go. And, well, obviously, you won here in a dominant fashion. Next week, it's at Road Atlanta. How does the mindset change? Obviously, a season opener, I guess you kind of do have a bit of those nerves, brand new fuel, all that sort of stuff. But now that you establish yourself as a race winner, how does that translate into next week?
Next week's going to be a little different because I'm nowhere near as confident at Road Atlanta as I am some of the other courses on the schedule. It's going to be a lot of practice, and we'll see in the open practice sessions where I stack up and how gung-ho I will be for positions.
Well, I mean, with the pace that you showed here today, if you can translate that into next week, it will definitely provide you with an amazing result. But, before I let you go, who do you have to thank for your result?
I thank Team Mystic for their support, my buddy Snoopy for keeping me in line this whole week and keeping me practicing rather than slacking off. And yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for the support and keeping me online. We'll hopefully make a championship season out of it.
Well, it's a perfect start for the championship season. You came out of here with the most amount of points in the amateur class, and I'm pretty sure they're proud of you.
Yeah, I can't complain with the top 10 there.
Well, that was Joshua Benjamin, our amateur race winner, class winner, top 10 finisher. And, well, what a season opener for him, Andrew.
Absolutely a great way to get the season kicked off there for Joshua Benjamin. We'll hand things down then to Emerson Arden with second place amateur finisher Blake Scott.
And Blake Scott was again up there in the midfield, but of course in the amateur category finished second, was up there, had a little bit of a go there with Joshua Benjamin, but Blake Scott, I guess what was the deciding factor in the amateur battle today?
It was my pit stop. I took too much fuel. It cost me, but had a lot of fun out there. Josh is quick.
So, just learned that this is an open car series. You get to select what car you want to run at each track. What was the decision behind bringing the Mercedes to the Hockenheimring?
I feel most comfortable in it. Under braking, feels great, very stable, and it's really quick out of the corners. I felt very comfortable coming out of the hairpin, so I chose the Merc.
We saw throughout the midfield a lot of wounds and scratches. Talk about how hectic it was in that midfield and how you maybe fared through all the maybe start the antics at the start and then throughout the race.
Yeah, there was an incident there in the start. Luckily, I got through that pretty clean. Other than that, I thought it was a fairly clean race. I had a lot of fun out there. Everyone was being very respectful, and I didn't see too much chaos going on. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to Road Atlanta.
Speaking of Road Atlanta, how do you feel about it? What can you tell us? Maybe what car you're gonna run, or how you think you will do at Road Atlanta?
Yeah, it's a track I like. I think I'm gonna be running the Porsche next week, so we'll see how. We'll get some practice in leading up, and yeah, I think I'll be in the Porsche.
Right on, Blake. Once again, congratulations on second place in the amateur category today. Who do you have to shout out? Who do you have to thank for your second place run?
Shout out Scott Racing. Shout out my dad, Mark Scott. He'll be here next week. Shout out my grandma and my grandparents watching. Yeah, thank you guys. I'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Once again, Blake, congratulations on the second place finish tonight here at the Hockenheimring in the amateur category. Best of luck to you next Thursday at Road Atlanta.
Alrighty. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Again, that was driver of the number 167, Andrew. Very, very content with the second place finish from Blake Scott.
And certainly reason to be content as well. We're going to have a bit of a special interview here. Now, in our little break there, JP immediately asked me, hey, Andrew, can I talk to Jackson Rosende? Well, it turns out that Jackson Rosende is a native Portuguese speaker, and this is the only way we can hear from him. So, JP, buddy, I'm going to hand you over to Jackson Rosende, pro race winner this evening from Hockenheimring.
Então, Rezende, aqui pela primeira vez no Pit Stop TV, a gente tá falando em português e, cara, que vitória sua, mano. Te ver em segundo lugar, obviamente, no começo ali, tu sofreu um pouquinho com o tráfego, né, com o pessoal uma volta atrás, mas tu conseguiu devolver aquele ritmo, né, puxar aquele ritmo de volta. Quão difícil foi trazer aquela distância pro líder ali no começo da corrida?
Boa noite a todo mundo que está acompanhando a transmissão. É legal saber que tem brasileiro aqui também. Cara, ali do começo, começando o Qualify ali, eu errei a volta e tomei off-track na 1, que a volta me daria a pole. Aí fiz a última volta, ainda consegui salvar um P3 ali. E na hora que eu sofri aquele enrosco ali com os retardatários ali, eu fiquei para trás um pouco ali, só que eu sabia que eu era um pouco mais rápido do que o Mateu no último setor. E aí sempre no último setor eu tirava um décimo, um pouquinho ali, fui volta a volta tirando dele, até conseguir chegar dentro do gap de 1 segundo para ele e comecei a salvar combustível para quando eu chegar na parada de boxe eu tentar sair na frente dele, e foi isso que eu consegui fazer. Aí eu tentei manter um ritmo forte até o final, porque ele estava rápido também. ele chegava em mim nos 2 primeiros setores, eu conseguia abrir um pouquinho dele no último setor. E, cara, para mim foi sensacional essa vitória, não esperava por ela e só tenho a agradecer a minha equipe por nos ajudar nos treinos, e é isso aí.
Pois é, no começo ali realmente ficou difícil saber se tu ia conseguir, né, realmente trazer aquele gap de volta ali, mas tu conseguiu, obviamente tu fez o overcut funcionar, né, tu conseguiu ali, junto com o Zamperlini ali, trazer uma volta a mais e fechar esse gap, e, bom, parabéns pela vitória, mas, obviamente, a semana que vem tem Road Atlanta, e como é que é? Tu é tão confiante quanto tu é em Hockenheim? Porque hoje tu foi dominante, como é que vai ser semana que vem?
Ah, a gente vai vir forte para Road Atlanta, pode ter certeza que essa vitória deu um ânimo. Eu e meu companheiro de equipe, a gente vai treinar bastante para vir forte de novo em Road Atlanta, pode ter certeza.
Bom, eu não vejo a hora de conversar contigo semana que vem também, mas antes de eu te deixar ir embora, tu tem algum patrocinador aí que tu queira agradecer em específico?
Sim, nós temos que agradecer aqui nossos patrocinadores aqui, principalmente a Autônica na Ampor, nos dar essa oportunidade de representar o nome dele. E agradecer os patrocinadores da equipe, que é a B8 Seguros, a construtora Zimmermann, e os apoiadores da equipe, que é a Roysinkweld, a Logitech, a Main Gear, a Micro Center e a Mais Motorsport.
Aí, show de bola. Tenho certeza que eles estão orgulhosos porque foi um corridão de você aí. Você tem que estar... Você e o Zamperlini devem estar orgulhosos desse resultado. Eu tenho certeza que todo mundo tá olhando aí, tá muito feliz com esse resultado aí. Meus parabéns, viu, Rezende?
Obrigado.
Well, Andrew, that was Jackson Resende, the winner of the race. I mean, he was just so happy with the result. He said that he had the pole lap on his back, but unfortunately got an off track on turn number 1. But after that, he managed to bag himself a P3 qualifying position. And, straight on into the race, after he got caught up with some back markers, he knew that he was faster, at least on the final sector. So, unlike what we were kind of thought, I guess the thought process being the BMW was faster on the first and second sector was completely the opposite. So he was just faster on the third sector, the final sector. He was just catching 1 or 2 tenths of a second. And well, after he caught up and he started saving fuel whenever he got to that 1 second gap, it was just, I guess, easy sailing for him. He just saved enough fuel, overcut, and obviously put less fuel in his car, and after that, it was just managing the gap. And well, he said that this win is going to push him forward even more for Road Atlanta. So, I mean, this week was a fantastic race for him and obviously his teammates. So, the team game might be strong for next week at Road Atlanta because he sounded very, very confident.
Certainly, I think the team game was the difference maker between he and Matthew Dench. Having the teammate in Fabio Zamperlini and relying on him for the fuel strategy, but between the two of them, they figured it out to where Jackson Resende was able to go out there, go the 1 lap further, and whether it was gaining time throughout that, taking less fuel, or what have you, it works out for Jackson Resende, and certainly I think he and Fabio Zamperlini will have to take that one to the bank and continue to work on that for Road Atlanta. I gotta say, JP, I had not heard you speak Portuguese before. We've been working with you for the better part of a year now, and we know, obviously, you're from Brazil, and we know you speak fluent Portuguese, but we hadn't heard it quite like that. That was actually really cool. I'm glad you guys got to have that interview there. I don't know. It just seems like a really cool moment between you guys. But Jackson Resende wrapping things up here from Hockenheimring with a big old W. You can see the official, well, unofficial for now, race results overall here. You see Jackson Resende leading 15 of 31 laps. What's funny to me is that's 1 lap less than Matthew Dench. It was literally half and half, 50-50 between Resende and Dench. Teammate to Resende, Fabio Zamperlini, finishes in 3rd. Scott Kimbrough takes home 4th. Harry Wills in 5th. Daniel Tenorio in the 6th spot. Aldo Secklin in 7th. Giuseppe Rivas in 8th. John Sedlak in 9th. And Joshua Benjamin, the AM class winner, finishes up 10th position.
In 11th place, we do have EMM Lake. Michael Burnett finishes off in 12th place. Blake Scott in 13th place. Bruno Alcatraz in the 244 in 14th place. Scott Rister in the 242 in 15th place. Shane Keiko in 16th place. Federico Tamayo in 17th. Mike Braun in 18th. William Coffey in the 157 in 19th place, and riding off your top 20, Russell Burton in the 129.
We find our way to the next page here, and it'll be 21st place. And the first driver, 1 lap down to Leslie. We saw got some damage and also had a penalty there at the end. Philip Rainier there in 22nd. Derek Dennis will come on 23rd. Chad Klinger, who was up in the top 10 very early on, he'll come on 24th, a lap down. Sean Patterson, 25th. 26th for Armando Bejaran, 27th Josue Morando Manriquez, 28th Tyler Graff will be the first driver, 2 laps down. WF Armeo Jr. in 29th, and Charles Boast there in 30th, 2 laps down.
Finishing 31st, see Clarence Rosa. We saw a little bit of him earlier on there with EJ Nixon as well. And then Jack Niederbach ends up taking a bit of a spin. And apparently it's white flag again, but Jack Niederbach will round out the field there in the 33rd position in the number 2, 4, 5. So 33 cars, pretty strong field to open things up. Let's take a look again here at the schedule, JP Costa. Hockenheimring opening things up this evening goes the way of Jackson Rosende and Joshua Benjamin. Next week at Road Atlanta, I have no clue what's going to happen. Interlagos, of course, your favorite track by all means. They're in 3rd, Nürburgring in 4th, Mosport in, I'm saying it in positions, golly. But Interlagos week 3, Nürburgring they're in week 4, on to Mosport, Suzuka, Red Bull Ring, and Donington Park. There's a lot to praise about this schedule, certainly for the North American Racing League, and a lot to look forward to. We talked about it earlier on. I think Road Atlanta could be one of the best just all-out racing battles that we see. We saw fantastic battles weeks ago in the Streamers Championship. I expect much of the same.
Yeah, exactly. We all know how great Road Atlanta is. Obviously, Petit Le Mans might be it's one of my favorite special events in iRacing. And, it just, as you mentioned, it provides great racing, even though it's tight and twisty and all that sort of stuff. It's just fantastic to race in. And obviously, it's an important race. Some drivers obviously do have to bounce back from probably a disappointing result here tonight. And, well, it's a fantastic race to bounce back. You can easily defend, you can easily attack as well. And after that, obviously, we do have Interlagos. It's just going to provide so much more racing. And the whole calendar itself, it's just tracks that provide great racing and will allow drivers to excel in different, I'd say, types of tracks, and it's just going to be amazing to see, how drivers are going to be adapting to different kinds of circuits throughout the calendar year.
Certainly, I'm looking forward to things throughout the course of this season. Emerson, I asked you earlier, what track would you nail down as your favorite? I might have to go potentially with Red Bull Ring, simply because it'll be the first time that we get to go to Red Bull Ring here on Pit Stop TV. I'm looking forward to seeing how these GT3 cars do there. There's a lot to look forward to throughout the 8 races, though. I'm just glad we got to open things up with a pretty solid round here in Hockenheimring. Things were spread out. Things were certainly, I think, up to attrition. I think certainly stepped in with everything that was going on throughout the course. 50 minutes of racing down. What have you learned?
Again, I learned actually a little bit from the pro drivers, like I mentioned on the pit cycle, to angle the cars out, especially if you're closer toward pit exit there, to maybe get that better exit, a little bit better of a launch out of your pit box from a standing start. But no, for real, I really enjoyed the series. I've been longing for some sports cars back on the channel, and in this amount, I mean, what a field size to kick off the season opener. I cannot wait for what's coming up next at Road Atlanta, and it'll be very interesting to see if Rosende and Dench go at it again, or we'll have completely new players at Road Atlanta.
Certainly a lot to look forward to. We've learned a lot about the field, and we're going to learn a lot more in a week's time. Make sure you rejoin us next week for the North American Racing League, again, powered by these partners on the left side of your screen: Race Lab, Tam Livery, and JS Consulting. I got to get back up, actually, to my little plug here. We're still learning a lot about Race Lab as well. When I heard that Race Lab was going to be on with the North American Racing League, I had heard a little bit about Race Lab, but admittedly, I've never used Race Lab in my personal doings here on iRacing. But before the Spot 24 this week, I might just have to get into it, because Race Lab helps you improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. That is racelab.app. So I'm very much looking forward to potentially working with using RaceLab this weekend for the Spa 24. I'm going to have to get into it, quite honestly. It sounds like it might be helping some of these drivers as well, and if the pros are using it, I've got to use it as well because I could definitely use the help. Of course, TAM Liveries offers custom packages for some of the best livery designs in iRacing. Used by pros and amateurs, you will definitely look good on track. And JS Consulting provides custom website and app development, including iRacing League website design and hosting. Find JS Consulting at johnsedlak.com. So competing in the series and building some pretty cool websites as well. Maybe he can make an iRacing broadcaster website. We'll have to get in contact with Mr. John Sedlak here at some point later on. But we also do want to thank, of course, our partners here at Pit Stop TV, Tucson Sound Art, your picture, your music. Emerson, where can we find Tucson Sound Art?
Find Tucson Sound Art there at www.tucsonsoundart.com, and make sure you use promo code PITSTOPTV at checkout and receive 10% off of your wall-mounted sound art device purchase today. Pit Stop TV broadcasts are also brought to you by Race Pace Setups. Pick up pace with Race Pace, a community-driven setup shop and driver development program. And again, check out that Discord link down at the bottom of your screen. I'll be definitely checking them out, seeing if they have any setups for my team as we try to gear up for the Spa 24 this weekend as well. Race Pace Setups, I know I used their setup at Bathurst earlier this season, and it was a very, very stable setup, very fun setup for me to learn the track as well. And I cannot wait also for Spa this upcoming weekend, potentially using the Race Pace setup.
And I think the big thing there with Race Pace is it's free to get into Race Pace. It's free to use Race Pace setups. And I think certainly beneficial to any iRacer to do so. There's a lot of endurance races throughout the year, and more drivers are getting into endurance racing and might not know the ins and outs. Certainly, I don't know the ins and outs of how to set these cars up. I got to use Race Pace to find some speed as well, and it certainly is worth the time and effort that Tyler Campbell and company put into Race Pace setup. So certainly check them out, that Discord link bottom right. Of course, we do want to shout out Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine here at Pit Stop TV. Based certainly up in the great state of Maine, and locally at that point up in Maine, you still want to look your best. And if you're in the surrounding areas, you might just need to check out Permanent Makeup in Maine. Tons of different procedures and treatments that go on up there. It's not just makeup. It's not limited to mascara and eyeliner or whatever. No, it's more than that. Permanent makeup is how to permanently change your appearance, or at least get treatments to permanently change your appearance for the better. They want to take care of you and make you look the best that you possibly can. At Permanent Makeup in Maine, Ashley Bollier and her team of professionals make things happen. Call 207-358-8683 for a consultation today, or go to permanentmakeupinmaine.com. The cryo treatment, guys, if you're out there hearing this, I think that's where the bread and butter might be for you. Cryo treatments can help burn some fat off. If you're looking to slim down for a wedding potentially, hey, that might be what works for you. Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. Of course, we also want to shout out Whiplash Media, the official graphic and camera provider of Pit Stop TV, and BAM Racing Videos, by a race fan for the racing community. Certainly a wild first round of action here from Hockenheimring. So glad to have brought it to you here in Pit Stop TV. And so glad to have these upcoming broadcasts on the channel. JP, we've got a lot to look forward to. The Nork iRacing Series Season 13 is the final race, guys, that I'll be missing here in Nork. The final one that I won't be on, and then I get to come back just in time for the chase. But Emerson Arden, Eric Brennan, and Trey Shuttlesworth will be covering all of the action from Atlanta Motor Speedway, just on the far side of an announcement announcing the changes to Atlanta Motor Speedway for 2022 and beyond. This is a bit of a time capsule now, certainly, of the old pavement that's now being torn up down there in Hampton, Georgia. I'm so looking forward to seeing how things go on Tuesday evening from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Then, the IORL will take Indy cars to Kentucky Speedway. They were just in action at the Chicago Street Course last night. It was a wild one. Certainly a lot of attrition paid off there. Now we get to see how it goes with oval racing at Kentucky Speedway. And finally, Emerson brings us all of the action from the Auto Club Speedway with the Outlaw Sim Series race number 4 in their series. So a lot to look forward to. JP, where can we find these broadcasts?
Well, you can find them pretty much everywhere. You can find them on Facebook at facebook.com/pitstoptv, on Twitter at twitter.com/pitstoptv _, on Instagram at instagram.com/pit_stop_tv, and also on youtube.com/c/pitstoptv1.
And of course, you can go on Twitch and find us as well. Plenty of places to catch up with Pit Stop TV action. Of course, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, where you can find our social media posts, many of which, well, all of which put out this evening by Trey Shuttlesworth. A lot of big things coming on the social media platforms, and a lot of big things coming for Pit Stop TV as well. If you haven't heard, we announced this earlier this week on our social media channels. The Cars Tour is coming to Pit Stop TV. Now, the Cars Tour is something I've been working on. Well, I've been working for, more realistically, for Pit Road TV and Cars Tour TV throughout the last year or so. The Cars Tour, the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour, is a late model series with late model stock cars and super late models touring through the Carolinas, Virginia, even up to Pennsylvania. Plenty of racing action to suit any race fans need. And it's coming iRacing once again. It used to be hosted through Podium Esports. We want to thank Podium Esports for all of the groundwork they have laid, but we're taking over the Cars Esports Tour, and you can register today by going to pitstoptv.com/Cars Esports Tour. That again is pitstoptv.com/Cars Esports Tour. And you can sign up. It's a $10 entry fee for 6 races. We're going to North Wilkesboro on August 4th, then Myrtle Beach Speedway on August 18th. Then we go to Southern National on September 1st, Larry King Law's Langley Speedway on September 22nd, South Boston Speedway on October 6th, and we round things out at Rockingham Speedway just ahead of the LeithCars.com 100 on October 27th. So a lot of racing action. Make sure you join up for it. A lot of our own broadcast members, actually. Trey Patton is registered. Brandon Mettler of BAM Racing Videos has registered. Jacob Baticki, son of our pit reporter in the Cars Tour, Lenny Baticki has registered. So a lot of people are getting in on this. And we're also pushing to get a lot of you short track stars that might be out there and might somehow hear this over the airwaves. By all means, we want you to register. You can do so again by going to pitstoptv.com/Cars Esports Tour.com. It's very easy to sign up. We want to get you all involved, and it starts all on Wednesday evening, August the 4th. That will do it, however, from Hockenheimring here in Germany. It's been a fun one. It's been a very, very fun one to get things started and get this season underway. It's been a long time coming, I think, working with Scott Reister and everybody at North American Racing League, NARL, as we're going to start to refer to them. And it's been so much fun getting this season going finally. We had that Streamers Championship, there we go, a few weeks back on that early Sunday morn, and now we get things going on a Thursday evening. For all of Pit Stop TV, JP Costa beside me on the mic, Emerson Arden alongside both of us, actually, as well as Trey Shuttlesworth on our social media coverage. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV, and we will see you next time on Pit Stop TV.